What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Dead Noise. I'm Chris, and thanks to the power of Zoom, I am here with two-fifths of the band Breathe In, Paul and Rob. How are you guys doing?
Hey,
Doing awesome. How you
pretty good.
doing?
So far, so good. I'm really excited to talk with you guys. So, first things first, your newest single, Fallujah, released earlier this month. How has the reception been so far?
Pretty good. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of people like it. It's been doing well. A lot of my friends who aren't really into metal, they also really like it. So that's kind of good, right?
It means you're doing something
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I've been also getting an overwhelmingly positive response from my closer circles. The broader response has been pretty awesome as well.
What was the songwriting process like for that single and just for you guys as a band in general? Because I know now you have this is your third single and you guys are coming out with a fourth soon, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So what is your guys' general songwriting process?
Well, I actually specifically for Fallujah, that was our singer and our singer Shola and our other guitarist Topeng. Um, they had that song kind of written with their previous project, kind of in demo form. And when they joined our band, they brought it to the table and we kind of tweaked it and threw our own little flavors in there. But pretty much the song was like mostly written by the time it got to Breathe In.
And I know you guys have a wealth of musical influences. I know you, Paul, specifically, you're really into thrash and some of the classic heavy metal like Iron
Yeah.
Maiden and stuff like that. So as a band, as a collective, how how hard is it to bring all of your influences to the table while also maintaining an original sound amongst yourselves?
I really don't think
Right.
it's that
Yeah.
hard at all, really. I think based off of my previous experience in various bands, I think the more diverse the backgrounds of the members of your band are, the more they bring to the table, and the less uh, kind of contentious things tend to be overall. I was playing in a band with like it was four and then eventually five dudes who all listened to very similar music. We were all in a knit community in New Brunswick at the time, and there were a lot of hardcore bands, but there was very much kind of like a mold to it. And you have, four or five guys that all listen to similar but slightly different music. They all have a different idea of how to fill that mold, and it ends up being a lot more difficult to work with in that sense. But when you have people from various musical backgrounds with wildly different tastes, I think you get more unexpected results. But at the same time, everyone has kind of their own area of expertise that they really have to offer to the group. And I really think by having a good variety of that, it makes, in general, being in a band a lot easier to work with.
You guys, as a band, you came together in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. I know that's when your debut single came out, so I don't know how long you were a
Mm.
band before then. Um, but for people that don't know, what exactly is the origin story behind Breathe In?
Oh, well, it's wild. It started, at least for me, Brian wanted to start, a new project after he left his old band. And I actually met Brian at the gym through a mutual friend. I was going to the gym with one of my friends, and he was like, "Oh, I went to school with that kid. Like, you would love him. He's a great guitarist. Like, you guys should talk." And I was like, "All right." So we started hanging out, and at some point he asked me, "Hey, I'm starting this project. You want to play drums?" And I was already in, man. I was like, "Yeah, dude, totally." And then we started just assembling all the pieces, and then we asked Rob to join. Rob, you came in after we already started working on our first couple of singles.
Correct. I
Yeah,
came in. Um, they were not released yet. You were still finishing them up in the studio
yeah.
for the first two singles. But so I came in like right in the middle of studio time for those. Or actually, I guess more fair to say it like right at the tail end. I think you were doing solos and I came in to
Oh yeah, I
do
remember
some
that day.
vocal work.
Wow, that was the first day that we met.
It was.
Was Kang finishing up those solos.
Isn't that
Oh
wild?
wow. Yeah, man, that's crazy.
And I
So
met
was
Brian through Brian is besties with the guitarist of Echo Black. So we were always just in the same room at the same time and got friendly with each other. And one day we were like both up in New York at the same time for different reasons, but with no agenda for several hours. So we like started chilling and we were like chilling harder ever since then.
And you guys are also a very aesthetic driven band, from what I've seen. I love the color palette, especially for this new single Fallujah and the neon colors and stuff like that. I know you, Paul, you do a lot of video work. So what exactly is the creative process on that side of things for the band?
Well, first I try to wrangle everyone's opinions and ideas, I try to make sense of all of it, because everyone has a say, and I want to make sure, everyone's, um, what they want to see or what they want to look like, plays into the final product, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I have a very long background of like working in film production and a wide variety of camera work on all over the world, a whole bunch of projects. But I try to take what I've learned how not to run a production and how to run a production from different things and try to like take the best of what I can for like, for all of us. And I also come from an art background too. So color palette and trying to work with also our skin tones too. That's like a big thing that, a lot of people don't really think about. We all have very like a wide range of skin tones that's like I also take into account when we go over color palette and kind of the theme of what songs we're going to do. Like our first single, White Flag, was like mostly red with a little bit of blue, which played, the contrast played really well. And then our second single was like a lot of yellow, which was also very like striking. And then this new one, we got inspired, or at least I was inspired to do like the pink kind of route by the I don't know if you saw the album art for Fallujah, the cover art, I mean for Fallujah. Um, that flower, that's a milk thistle flower, and that flower is like native to that region of the world where Fallujah is, and it has that kind of purplish pink kind of color. And when I was first sketching out the album art, it was actually Rob who came up with the idea to really hit it with that purple color. Um, so, like I said, I take everyone's like opinions into consideration, and I loved the idea, so I just ran with it. And then what's a good complementary color to the pink and purples was like a lot of greens and browns, and it helps that purple pop out a lot more. So, uh, that's kind of, I don't know, maybe the more uh, scientific way of doing it, trying to look at what works with the color palettes and complementary colors and stuff like that, I guess.
It really like has a lot more impact in visual medium than like all visual mediums than most people tend to give it credit for. And you can really tell when a filmmaker is like has a good grasp of that, and it really elevates the value of their work by a lot. And it's like one of those things that most people like it's very intangible to most people. They don't realize that's what's making it look, that next step above what people shoot on TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a real important aspect that I think
I think what one of
is a lot
the
stronger than people realize.
well, one of the funny things I came to this realization a while ago with Rob and some of the other guys. I was like, I realized pretty much almost every film I've ever worked on has sold, and it's not because of the scripts. I'll tell you that. But because they look good. They look professional. You know, uh, they look good, and that can go a long way, you know?
Yeah. Well, especially in this day and age when everything is at your fingertips just on your phone. Like you look on Instagram and every account seems to have a professional photographer attached to them.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm sure like as a band where social media has become more important to a band's career than sometimes even the music, it's probably an interesting balance between getting the visuals right and also matching it to the music.
that's the one part where I have trouble with is because I tend to be like a perfectionist with the way that I shoot things. And I know that like 99% of people are not analyzing social media posts the same way you would analyze a film.
Hmm.
So I think of course, I want our stuff to always look professional, always look, elevated. But I also need to remember that like there's a time and a place for it. And social media, you don't need to go super crazy with the super technical stuff and the high quality cameras and the crazy lenses and stuff, you know what I mean? For it to look good. And I think that's where Kang helps a lot because he runs our social media channels. I mean, I handle the YouTube channel mostly, but he handles like all the other social media platforms. And he has a really good eye for marketing in a way that like kind of takes a lot of pressure off of me and kind of he helps me calm down. If I'm like, oh no, I don't like the shot, I don't like the way this is, he kind of helps me rein it in a little bit, you know?
And
Um,
it's kind of weird with social media because at the end of the day, it's sort of just become a game at this point. Unfortunately, it's like, you know, pick your platform that you're going to play your game on pretty much, and then figure out how the game works on that platform because everything is it's so inorganic and algorithm driven that you either like play that game and then you have a shot at people maybe catching what you're doing and stopping to listen, or you don't play that game and even fewer people stop and check out to listen. So it's almost like a hellscape in a way, but being able to have something that can make someone stop visually and go, oh, what's this is very important right now.
Now, I do want to transition since we're talking about cameras and cinema and stuff. Um, this is probably going to be the most important question in this whole interview. We'll start with you, Rob. What's your favorite Universal monster?
Oh man,
Ooh,
that's a good
ooh,
one, man.
that's
It's gonna give
tough.
me time to think about
You're welcome.
Uh,
it.
ooh. I'm gonna have to give you two for two completely separate reasons. I'm gonna have to go with Dracula just because I think that's my favorite Universal film.
Hmm.
It's
Mm,
so perfectly timeless. I even found myself showing it to my cousin's kid one Thanksgiving. He's super picky and doesn't like anything, but I was able to get him to watch that. I was like, it's such a powerful, well done film that really stood the test of time. Aesthetically, though, I'm gonna have to give it to Creature from the Black Lagoon because I just think
mm,
he's a cool looking monster.
yeah. If I can give two, I would say Frankenstein is definitely one of the most like iconic, performances of a
Hmm.
Oh,
creature.
absolutely.
But I think my favorite movie, and maybe this counts as a monster, but I love The Invisible Man. Like that movie is so groundbreaking. Invisible Man came out in 1933, and that still holds up
Yeah.
as like some of the most groundbreaking like effects. Like, yeah, I gotta say, I think Invisible Man.
I'm so glad you guys made the point to differentiate between your favorite movie and your favorite monster because that's a debate I have with myself all the time
Mm,
too. Um, Granted, I think like if I had like gun to my head, it would probably be the same answer for both, and that would be Dracula, obviously.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I love Bela Lugosi's portrayal of the character. I think it was very important at the time just because it was the first sound horror movie.
Mm,
And you can tell because of how much silence is in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, but also, like you said, with The Invisible Man, the visual effects at the time were insane. I couldn't even imagine how groundbreaking that was for audiences to see.
Yeah.
I also love the Wolfman. Like,
Oh yeah.
werewolf movies in general are kind of my bread and butter. So with that one, it's kind of like if you take them, the three of them, Dracula's the most important one just because it was the first sound one. The Invisible Man had great visual effects, but the Wolfman also had really good visual
Oh
effects for
yeah.
the time. But it also was the best one and the earliest example of them weaving in like accompaniment musically with
Mm.
the narrative and everything. Because The Invisible Man had some of it, but I think on a large scale and having it like not feel kind of clunky, the Wolfman kind of perfected it by that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I love the Universal monsters. That I could talk about them for hours.
Yeah.
So when I was
Dude,
doing,
you know what I realized? You know what's wild? 1933 had two of the most like visually groundbreaking movies, Invisible Man and King Kong.
oh yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Imagine what like audiences were going through seeing that stuff, you know?
They were so spoiled. I
Yeah.
wish. And also thinking like that was also during the Great Depression. So the budget for these movies was non-existent. And with stop motion being such a new tech technological like medium at the time and super time consuming in general,
Mm,
that I can't even imagine what
I
that
know.
process was like. But yeah, King Kong is such an underrated movie. It, I feel like the original is underrated just because when someone says King Kong, a lot of people think of the Peter Jackson one, but
Yeah, nowadays, yeah.
Yeah.
the 1933 one is still the best in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I always have this like Paul's gonna know this, but I'm gonna forget it. Like, there's that one weird one that I kind of like too, where they're doing like open heart surgery on King Kong in the
Oh,
beginning of it.
King Kong Lives? Or wait, what was that? Um, that was the sequel to the 76 one, right?
I think so. It
Yeah,
was
that's King Kong
very
Lives.
much
Yeah,
a rental
yeah,
store shelf,
yeah, yeah,
always there, King Kong.
yeah.
I rented that as a kid, and I was like, "When's he climb the Empire State Building?"
I remember the King Kong versus Godzilla, the original one, and
Oh,
like
I have
the
that one right up here.
oh yep,
All the Godzilla movies.
me too.
That's awesome, man.
Um, but like I remember thinking of how groundbreaking the making of the Godzilla suit was, and then you see King Kong versus Godzilla, and the Kong suit was just so awful.
Oh, I know, man.
And then they did King Kong Escapes, and it was like
Yep.
their standalone Kong movie. I was like, no, why?
Yo, speaking
Why'd you
of
do
bad
that?
Kong suits, did you ever see that like that AI stabilized Bigfoot footage where it's very clearly a dude in a suit walking through the woods? It's like that just goes back to that conversation about how much difference your camera work can make.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if the Patterson Gimlin film, if that camera was on a gimbal or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Jesus.
okay. We've finished that with technology, and now we know what's up.
Um, so for either of you guys, were the Universal monsters your introduction to horror movies, or was it something else?
Oh,
It was not the Universal monsters for me.
I don't know if this counts as a horror, but this definitely kind of put me on the track. Well, I kind of around the same time, Ghostbusters and Predator. I
Okay.
watched those when I was so like Ghostbusters creeped me out when I was a kid, but kind of piqued that curiosity to want more stuff like spooky stuff. But then I watched Predator when I was way too young to watch a movie like that. But that one, like I said, I don't really know if that really counts as like horror because there's a lot of action in it, but it does have some horror
Predator counts as
elements,
horror.
you know.
I count it as horror.
It's absolutely horror. It's got like a monster in it, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
got
Yeah.
suspense. It's got like to a mild degree jump scares like before
Yeah.
they're played out. It's absolutely to at least a recognizable extent horror.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an
But
argument for the Terminator being a slasher film.
The first
Oh
one.
yeah,
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 the
the
Yeah,
first
first
one.
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
It
could see
fits.
that.
It very much fits that mold of like '80s slasher. That's kind of like where my my like most loved era in film is. I love like corny slashers. I can't get enough of them. But for me, horror started with uh, I can't remember the name of it, but there was like this one specific like real dark, creepy haunted house pop-up book I had as a little kid. It like horror for me, horror started less so with movies because your parents don't really want you to watch that shit when you're a kid.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of like horror type things. Goosebumps was a big one, but
Mm.
even bigger would be Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and the visual aesthetics of Stephen Gamble in the original version. I understand they've since changed all the artwork, but
Yeah.
it was yeah, gets kids on interviews about horror movies. Terrible stuff.
Yeah.
But I do specifically remember the first horror movie. Let's call it a set of horror movies that really got me into horror as like a like on the silver screen, if you will. My dad's cousin had lent him a like a bootleg VHS tape, like just a recorded blank that had Predator first. And then because like the blanks had so much tape on them, you put another movie on there. It was followed up by The Lost Boys. So so those two movies
Yeah.
specifically were the start of it. Um, but there was also some like horror adjacent ones. Like one that particularly comes to mind is that Sinbad film with all of the claymation in it.
The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, that one.
Yes, that's the
Oh,
one.
wow.
It not horror, but horror adjacent enough to the point where it's like the technology was so similar to what I was seeing in a lot of horror movies when I started to like really want to watch horror movies. Oh, and Jaws. I guess Jaws was the first horror movie
Oh
my
yeah,
That
yeah.
was
parents
mine.
let me watch. Back when PG really meant your parents should watch this movie first.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like Jaws, Poltergeist, that era.
Mm.
I guess I guess I would have to be more fair and say Jaws was the first one, but like the ones that got me interested in like the whole world of it, because Jaws is a fantastic horror movie, a suspense masterpiece, but not really a gateway to monster movies in general.
Hmm.
It's very mainstream. It's very favored by enough people that don't explore more horror movies beyond what becomes very popular. It like appeals to that crowd a lot more. And I'm not trying to take away from it. I think it's an absolute cinematic masterpiece and
Yeah.
a master class in horror. But
Yeah.
it's not the gateway drug, if you will. I
Mm.
would say Lost Boys is very strong for what pointed me the direction I ended up walking. It's like punk rock, zombies, blood everywhere, comic
Mm.
books, just it all the cool shit.
Are you big into vampire movies?
I wouldn't necessarily say they're my favorite genre, but I do like them. I've seen quite a few. Uh, is 876 Evil technically a vampire movie, or is that like an undead film?
I
I can't
mean,
remember. The dude had fangs, but he didn't
mhm.
really like suck blood. I
Yeah, you
don't
got a good point. I never thought of it like that, but
Mm.
I think I classified it as a vampire movie just on account of the fangs, just from an aesthetic standpoint, but it's kind of one or the other.
I mean, vampire movies are an interesting subdivision of the horror genre in general because they touch on like so many different like portrayals of vampires. Like you've got your universal Dracula, your classical Nosferatu, your glam metal with like uh Lost Boys. You got your classically attractive uh story like by the numbers vampires and like Fright Night. You've got these tech industrial vampires in Blade. You've got sparkly teenage dream vampires in Twilight. You've got artsy like art film vampires in like Let Me In slash Let the Right
Mhm.
One In. There's you've got like spoof vampires with What We Do in the Shadows. It's a very
Yeah.
very diverse subject matter of the horror genre. But no, I'm gonna have to just say like gore films in general. Not
Okay.
like I'm not saying like Serbian film type gore. I'm talking like trauma type gore.
Two very different things.
Yeah.
Oh yes, oh yes. Uh, I don't want to meet the person that feels the way I do about trauma films. I don't want to meet the person that feels that way about a Serbian film.
Oh my God.
Uh,
No, I hope that person doesn't exist, not for nothing.
Oh, that was a rough watch.
Uh, what about you, Paul?
vampires. Just
What's
going on.
your, do you have a favorite subgenre or is it hard for you to pick?
Oh, subgenre. I,
Kaiju.
well, yeah.
That's not
Well,
horror,
I
really,
don't know.
though.
But I mean, some of it is. I mean, the original Godzilla. I mean, the Gojira from
Yeah,
1954. That one's a straight horror movie. I mean, I love giant monster movies. I love, all that kind of stuff. But I think when it comes to more, because like that kind of stuff, like you said, I don't really consider a lot of it horror. It's like a lot of it is like uh, I don't know how to word it. It's like a lot of it is fun. Like it's fun
Hmm.
to me. It's fun, and I think of it more as like fantasy, these sci-fi fantasy kind of. Um,
I
but
think
when I,
fantasy is a fair statement because most people, when they hear fantasy, they just assume high fantasy, medieval. But that's the thing
yeah,
about something being fantasy is it's a fantasy.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's what yeah, that's what I meant by like fantasy. But when I think of like favorite subgenre of like specifically horror, I, I, I don't know, man. It's tough because I like I like the more fun, spooky kind of horror stuff.
Hmm.
Like I'm not really big like for me it's like Friday the 13th or like Halloween is like scary, but it's also like kind of fun because I watch them every Halloween or every year in October. And to me, I don't really think of them as scary movies. I think of them as like fun Halloween fall season movies. Those are the kind of ones that I like, you know.
Oh yeah.
Uh which it's like yeah, I mean the original Halloween. I mean John Carpenter, I mean that whole movie is just a masterpiece, but I think with like, or even we were talking about the Universal movies. Yeah, at the time they were probably terrifying to audiences, but now I view them as like fun, spooky,
Hmm.
cozy movies that are, I guess, maybe nostalgic now. Like for me, they kind of bring that kind of nostalgic, warm feeling. That's the kind of horror that I like. I like that kind of like nowadays I think would be considered fun and just spooky kind of horror.
Yeah. Like you said with kaiju films, there's kind of a fantasy sci-fi thing about them, especially sci-fi. That
Yeah.
kind of brings up the debate with Frankenstein. Like, is it really horror or is it sci-fi? Because there's an argument for
Yeah.
both.
ooh, I
And
haven't heard this
Yeah.
one before. That's
That's a
is this hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah, I never thought of that. That's actually a really good point.
You know what? I'm gonna have to say sci-fi horror. That's absolutely a
Mm,
genre. Why can't it be both?
yeah,
yeah.
that's
That,
kind of my opinion too.
I mean, it's textbook science fiction when you really think about it, but it's still iconically horror. I don't think it's fair to say it's one or the other.
I think where it turns horror, well, obviously the sci-fi element is the lab and all of
Mhm.
the crazy gadgets and things. But like I think at least for me, when I was younger, what turned it horror was when the father is carrying his dead daughter through the town after
Mm,
the monster like accidentally killed her.
Hmm.
That scene is still chilling, you know? And I'm like, that's that's like a that's when I don't know. It's kind of weird because I think of like I said, I was just talking about these movies being like fun and stuff, but like that's where like I don't know what that is. That scene just hits hard,
Yeah.
like out of nowhere, and then it comes back down, when the mob starts going crazy and then starts getting fun again. So I think that's where I would say sci-fi horror.
See, now to that point, I got to bring this one up too because they're kind of they fall in the same category. Um, and this is a conversation I have with my friend Austin from the Would You Die podcast. That's he horror is his specialty. That's what he covers day in day out. I have the best of both worlds with music and horror, but
Mm.
we talk a lot. His favorite movie of all time is Jurassic Park. We both consider it to be a horror movie, but not a lot of people do for obvious reasons because there's the sci-fi element. But when you look at it, it's very similar to the Frankenstein story of like playing
Yeah.
God and, so for reasons like that, I would consider it to be a horror movie. Also, on top of the fact that once things really start to go down with the power going off in the park and the dinosaurs going loose, it's terrifying.
That's
Especially if
that.
you're
Yeah,
like,
that's slasher territory there. The
yeah,
the the
exactly.
Raptors are slashers, villains pretty much. You know?
Yeah.
Actually, that's kind of interesting how you said like, playing God kind of thing, because like it's not, and with Frankenstein too, it's not really about the science going wrong. Because if you think about it, the science went right.
Yeah, same thing with Jurassic
Frankenstein
Park.
reanimated, the corpse, and Jurassic Park, they brought dinosaurs to life.
Hmm.
It's about like how the
Yeah, that submersible saw
context,
the
yeah,
Titanic first.
yeah,
It's it's the premise that makes it a horror movie.
yeah.
It's not the events, it's the motivation.
It's like the worst that could happen, like in a fish out of water story.
Yeah.
You know, it's like dinosaurs in the wrong time, and Frankenstein's monster just being totally misunderstood
Hmm.
in the wrong context of where they
Yeah.
were.
See, now I gotta ask this. This might be the second most important question of this interview. What's your favorite Godzilla monster?
All right, so if I can't say Godzilla, you mean just any of the other monsters?
Yes.
Man, dude. All right, I'm gonna say something that's totally out of left field because of the nostalgia value and because I don't hear him being talked about enough. Jet Jaguar.
Whoa. Okay.
I mean, Godzilla versus Megalon, I love that movie. And you would think this is weird because my favorite Godzilla movie in general, just out of all of them, is Godzilla versus Biollante. But
Wow.
I love Jet Jaguar because I think I mean I love Power Rangers too, all that kind of thing. And like I want more Jet Jaguar, man. Like he was so awesome. Like, and now with the way that the legendary monster movies are going, like going even more wacky with it, this would be a perfect time to bring back Jet Jaguar, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, especially after all that neon they started introducing to
Yeah.
the most recent one. Dude, lay it on me.
Yeah, why not? But
Yeah,
I think that's the wacky answer.
Jet Jaguar always reminded me of like the VR troopers. I don't know if you remember that shit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, he's got that like Kamen Rider, yeah, VR Troopers, Super Sentai, that's like all that, mixed into one. So I think that's why I love him.
It's like our slight little tastes of Japanese culture we got that we still had to like whitewash to hell before giving to the American audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think wasn't Godzilla versus Megalon the first one to be public domain? I think I because I
It
remember
it
it was
was,
like,
but not for long because
yeah,
for a while after it was hard to find in America, and then all of a sudden all of them became available again.
yeah. I think
Wouldn't the
that's
fir-
why. Oh,
wouldn't the
sorry, no,
first
bro.
film technically be the first one?
To be public domain,
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I think.
no?
No, it was obviously it was the first like dubbed one because like they completely redid it with in America with what was
Raymond
his name?
Burr.
Raymond Burr,
Yeah,
which I didn't care for. Um,
I liked it when I was a kid. You know,
yeah, so did I.
I liked it when I was a kid because it kind of was like it kind of toned down the horror of the original. When you're a young kid. Uh, watching a scene where a mother is consoling her children and she's like, "Oh, we're gonna see your father again as the building is crumbling."
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty tough to watch when you're a kid, but with Raymond Burr talking over it, it's a little more palatable, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, when you're a kid, everything is scary.
Yeah.
Like uh, I like rewatching some of those Nightmare on Elm Street films. It's like, why was I afraid of this as a kid? And to go even
Yeah.
further back, I'm still trying to figure out why I was afraid of the abominable snowman from that Rudolph the Red-Nosed
Oh,
Reindeer
yeah, dude.
claymation.
Me
Yeah.
Like,
too.
it doesn't take much to scare a kid. Let's be real. I mean, sharp teeth. That's all it took.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I had nightmares just from Goosebumps. Like that I told this to Devin from Gore. I told him like I have so much trauma from the Werewolf of Fever Swamp, like both the book and the TV special, that like I to this day, whenever I watch a new werewolf movie, even though I want to see them and I paid for the ticket and I love werewolf movies, the first time I watch one, I always get a little bit nervous. Like when there's always a certain point where the suspense gets to me and like 7 year old me is like terrified again. I'm like, bro, what are we doing here?
Yeah, for me, it was that Are You Afraid of the Dark episode where if you took a picture of someone with a camera, they would die.
Oh.
Mm.
That one hit pretty hard back in the day. And I started like thinking of these like irrational scenarios in my little head. It's like, what the fuck am I gonna do if I ever encounter the camera?
You know what got me like from the Goosebumps? I remember when I was a kid, you know, my elementary school library, I forgot the name of the actual book, but it was the ventriloquist puppet one.
Night of the Living
Uh,
Dummy.
Yep.
yes, yeah, something like that. Yeah, dude, that terrified me. Just that book in general, the visuals, and even still to this day, that stuff still creeps me out. Those ventriloquist puppets, man. I
How do you
hate
feel
that.
about the Child's Play franchise?
I'm a big
Oh,
fan of it. I think it gets real campy around the third one. I was never huge on the Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky kind of arc going on. But when Curse of Chucky came out, I was into that. I thought that was a good direction for the franchise. And for the most part, I liked the series. I think it got a little strange when they brought it back,
yeah.
to say the least. I watched it anyway, but it was just like, oh, they're just trying to finish this now, huh? But I liked it. I liked the first two seasons. I thought they were good. But it was just like it got real weird. It's like now he's in the White House for some fucking reason. It's like what the fuck is going on?
You know,
D
I never really got into Chucky. I think I've seen the first movie maybe when I was like, you know, some point in high school or something, but like, yeah, I don't really have much of an opinion. I remember thinking it was, creepy at points, but I don't really remember much of it, to be
I
honest.
was I was wondering if that one had any sort of traumatic connection to you just because of the fact that it was like a doll, like with
I
with
think
puppets and stuff like that, kind of in the same
maybe I
vein.
just, yeah, maybe I just avoided them because it was a puppet and I just, didn't want anything to do with it.
Now, do you guys see yourself going like the Ice Nine Kills route or the Misfits route and writing songs based on horror movies or inspired by that side of things creatively, or is that too
Mm.
like too I don't know how to explain it. Is that like not something you guys want to do?
I would certainly be into it. I don't, unless we're doing like a dedicated concept album, I would be very open to exploring subject matter from various horror media. Like, I don't know, I thought it might be cool to write a Splatterhouse song. That might be kind of neat.
I think the way I was thinking about it was like maybe not lyrically, but to kind of incorporate
Yeah. Keep that
very
thang on me.
that's cool. But like to kind of incorporate elements of the music of some of my favorite horror movies. Like
Mm.
I think we mentioned like we would love to try to sneak in like, some of Godzilla's music in there. I would love to try to sneak in some like Halloween theme music in there, or not obviously not like note for note, but like I would love to try like a part. Isn't the Halloween theme, isn't that like in 7/8 time signature?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
it
think I would
is.
love to kind of have like a piece of a song kind of shift into like that kind of time signature and kind of have that kind of feel. I thought that'd be cool.
It's actually in 5/4.
Oh, okay, 5/4. Well, still.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like trying to think about it. I'm like, that's not adding up.
I was
I'm
trying to
like
do
the
the
worst
math.
music person for this. Like, I'm the least classically trained musician in this band, rest assured.
I
No,
knew
either
I
way.
I knew it wasn't 4/4. I was just trying to
Oh
do the
yeah, yeah.
math. Um, what was it? Yeah, that's a really interesting idea because I mean, you could even like you said, even if it's not note for note, you could still like use the chord progression from it because that in itself is already
Mm,
iconic, and it's
yeah,
maybe on a lesser degree than like the main theme,
yeah.
obviously, but it's still something that people who know would be able to pick up on. So that's a really
Oh,
cool idea.
you know what movie has amazing music? The Exorcist. Tubular Bells is one
Hmm.
of the coolest
Yeah.
like melodies, so I'd love to kind of do something like that. I've kind of already ripped off that kind of stuff. Like when I do scores for like, horror movies and stuff, like I've kind of already ripped off Halloween and Exorcist.
I mean, it's hard not to when they're that good and they're
Yeah.
that effective. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's another great example. The Exorcist, that's one of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. Um, Now, I will say the unused score is, I forgot who wrote it, but it's up on YouTube. It is so creepy. Like, especially like
For
what,
Exorcist?
yeah, what I
Oh
think is
wow, I
so
never heard it.
good about The
Yeah,
Exorcist is
this is the
that like
first.
in the movie, like you don't really pick up on a lot of music because
Mm.
it's very like it feels kind of real because there's not a lot of music. But there was actually an unused score. I can't pronounce the guy's name, but it's up on YouTube and it is so creepy. And I'm trying to think to myself, like, at what point would this be used in the movie? Because it's too freaky. Like, it would be great for a trailer or something
Yeah.
like that, but it's so good.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah,
That's
see
pretty.
if
I
anyone
didn't.
did a fan edit of this because there's a fan edit community for The Exorcist. So
Oh yeah.
plausibly small.
Well, I remember uh I saw a fan edit of the original to Iron Maiden's Fear of the Dark, and that was like the
That's cool.
coolest thing
Hell
ever.
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Um Now, I know you're a big Maiden fan, Paul. I assume you are too, Rob, to a certain degree, because I mean, it's Iron Maiden.
Fear the Dark was a big album for me. Like when I was like in a thrash phase and I was like leading and leaning heavily into other adjacent metal genres. So I definitely had like a big moment of really being into Fear the Dark. But I wouldn't say I'm as big of a Maiden fan as Paul.
Yeah,
What's
may I'd say. Oh no,
Go
no,
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what was your favorite album by them? Or if you could pick a favorite song, what would that be?
You know, I I guess the cheap answer would be the first album I ever heard was Number of the Beast. And I was like, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 years old. But that was the album that got me into wanting to play music.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm gonna have to
so I
go with The
think,
Wicker Man.
yeah,
Oh, oh yeah.
but specifically, Hallowed Be Thy Name is just one of those songs. It doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing. If that comes on, I have to listen to the whole thing all the way through every time.
That's a rite of passage. It's like when Bruce is singing, you're not talking.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really fair. That whole album's a masterpiece. I know a lot of people like put Peace of Mind up there with it,
well,
but
yeah. I mean, The Trooper, of course, is
yeah,
you
exactly.
know,
Like that's my dad's favorite song, but I'm like, no, it still doesn't like Number of the Beast as an album. Like you have The Prisoner and 22
yeah,
Acacia Avenue. It's like it's too
yeah,
good.
yeah,
I also love Total Eclipse, even though it wasn't on the original version of the album.
yeah, yeah.
Um, that one is so underrated in my opinion.
You know what? I really like Dance of the Dead. Like some of their
Oh.
like early 2000 stuff. I
Hmm.
really love that album.
Yeah, I like Brave New World with The Wicker Man, like Rob said.
Yeah.
Fallen Angel is a really good one too from that
Mm.
album.
I
Um,
honestly can't tell you another song from that album. I
I
just really like that song.
I also really like Holy Smoke. I know it's like not a
Yeah.
super popular one, but like as far as stuff from that album, that's probably my favorite one. Fear of the Dark is I think if I had to pick one song as an all-time favorite, it would probably be Fear of the Dark. But there's so many other good songs from that album, like Judas Be My Guide. That's another
Hmm.
that's probably like second place for me.
Yeah.
Cause like you said, Rob, it's got like that thrashy punkish energy. From the very beginning with Be Quick or Be Dead, and it just kicks off like that. It's like, okay, I guess I guess I'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
Before I let you guys go, I have a speed round for you, and this is my favorite part of every interview.
Oh,
Um,
hell
I
yeah.
I got 5 questions. You can elaborate if you want. I'm not too strict with the speed part of this speed round. We'll start with you, Paul. And it's the same question, just start with you, and then Rob, you can answer. The first question, your favorite song to play live?
Oh man. My favorite song to play live is not out yet.
Damn,
It's it's gonna be the one that's coming next. That's my favorite one to play live. But if I have to choose one that we I can talk about, it'd probably be White Flag. That one's a lot of fun.
that's a solid one.
For me, I think it's Fallujah because it's just so fun to play on bass. It's
Mm.
like it's a really it's a much more complex bass line than the other ones, and it's a lot more dynamic. I really like playing that one live.
Your most embarrassing moment on stage.
In my previous band or whatever, I'd say whenever you're trying to kill an awesome fill and you just completely whiff on the cymbal or your stick goes flying, that's happened uh, you know, quite a few times. That's always a little embarrassing.
I've fallen on stage twice. Once we were playing. This is with my old band. We were playing at the Brighton Bar at Red Bank, New Jersey, and we just didn't have enough stage space, and I fell into the drum kit. But
Nice.
another time, like I like to get off the stage and kind of really explore the venue space, and I've fallen off stage doing that before. And
Jeez.
one time, a lot of people noticed.
Your dream tour lineup.
Oh man, I would love to play the Sabaton open air in Sweden. Sabaton is one of my favorite bands ever. So, I mean, Sabaton. I mean, of course, I'd love to share the stage with Iron Maiden or Manowar, or like any of those. Judas Priest, I'd love to share the stage with them. Uh, yeah, man. I mean, Megadeth, I love all that. But yeah, if I had to choose like an actual show or like a venue or like some kind of festival where there'd be a lineup like that, like the Sabaton open air.
I'd have to say, probably like Falling in Reverse, Bring Me the Horizon, and Ice Nine Kills.
Damn.
Right? Yeah, that would slap.
That would break the internet. That would break
Oh,
Ticketmaster.
yes, it would. It would be the first time I'd be like being one of those. I'll get back to my job in a second. I gotta get this ticket.
Um, your favorite thing to do outside of music?
I mean, probably filmmaking in general. I love being on set. Uh, I just, it's just one of like the coolest jobs in the world. Like I just love being paid to travel, you know, and just work on cool projects, you know.
Uh, this is tough. Either video games, definitely video games, but I like to make things a lot. And what I'm making at any given moment changes, but like some of the things that are real staples are like electronic circuits, guitar pedals. Like I like to design circuit boards, and I like to make fingerboard obstacles because I'm a fucking loser. Hell yeah.
That's what's up. And the last question, always my favorite one, the song you wrote that means the most to you.
This one's tough. I mean, my previous band, we came out with an album, and there's a song on that album called. So my previous band were called the Danger Days, and there's a song on that album called "This Side or the Other," and it's like it's just a beautiful song, but towards the end it gets really heavy. But we were like more like, hard rock kind of, not really so much metal,
Hmm.
but the lyrics, the lyrics in that song, man, hit hard. It's about like, suicide and just thinking about like, people, loved ones that we've lost, and it's just kind of like what goes through their mind and like how how it affects like the people around you. And it was very difficult for our singer at the time because he lost a friend, and that song was kind of like inspired by that whole experience. And man, the ending to that song, when the music swells, it tears me up every time, man. Like it's one of those.
I would have to default to a song I wrote in 2008 with my thrash band Stressed Out called Party Zombies, which is a song I wrote about a bunch of zombies that just like crash a house party. It was very, very on brand with someone that was listening with too much municipal waste. But that was like the first song I wrote that actually became a song that got recorded. So that really started it all for me. That was like that was the real beginning. I guess I have one song that really, really resonates from like most of my bands. With Echo Black, it was probably a song called Fool's Gold, which was like an 8 minute Broadway inspired, very theatrical song that we never got a chance to play. That I really wanted to play, but I just thought it was very ambitious, and it was a really cool song to be a part of. Um, the jury's still out on Breathe In yet.
Just like that, that was everything I had for you guys for this go around. I'm sure we'll be talking again some more in the future, especially
Oh, that'd
in
be
the
great.
horror
I'd love
realm.
to.
Was there any closing message to any Breathe In fans watching?
Um,
Thank you very
well,
much. If you made it
yeah.
this far, yeah, you hit me up. Let's talk horror.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, thank you guys for, listening and enjoying the songs and, showing your friends and everything. Also, too, if there's any overlap where any Breathe In fans love talking about movies and all that kind of stuff, let me know. Um, I have a show too with one of my friends where we called Moviegoer, where we talk about, just movies in general. It doesn't matter what genre, just movies.
Yeah, I'll definitely have your guys' Instagram links in the description too, so anybody can slide into your DMs and talk horror with you guys.
Cool, cool.
Um, well, thank you guys so much for the time. I really appreciate
Oh,
it, and
absolutely.
I had a
This
lot
was
of fun
lovely.
talking with you.
Yeah,
I
man.
can't wait to do it again in the future. And to any and all Breathe In fans that watch this, thank you so much for watching. And until the next interview, stay tuned, stay scared, and I'll catch you later.